our session on our successful digital mobilisation campaign for young women. Firstly, just to introduce myself, I'm Zoe, Digital and Marketing Lead at Young Women's Trust.
Hello. Do I have to speak with you? I'm Hayley, I'm the Policy and Campaigns Lead at Young Women's Trust.
I'm Akshay, I'm the Director of Campaigns at C6.
So just to set the scene, I'm sure lots of you may not have heard of Young Women's Trust. So we're here as an organisation to help young women in the workplace. So we do that through our support services for young women. We run free CV feedback and job application support to help young women find work and also progress in their careers as well. And we also have our own research centre, which looks at how young women are experiencing the workplace, what the barriers to progression might be, what that looks like across different sectors, and then we use that insight to fuel our campaigns for change. In terms of our business goals, so in the digital and marketing team, one of our overarching goals is around creating digital mobilisation moments to both attract more young women as supporters, but also build our relationship with our existing database and getting them to lead action and take the charge in helping us create that more equal world of work. So just to set the scene, so last year when the general election was announced, it took us a bit by surprise. In May last year, we were expecting it to be sort of autumn time. And then we had around 5 weeks to plan all of our campaign, which threw us off slightly. At the time, we were also only about 2 weeks into using Engaging Networks. So we were just finding our feet with the platform. So definitely not experts at that point. And also, I guess just for context, we are a really small organisation. So in digital and marketing, there's just 4 of us. Hayley's our only policy and campaigns person. So we always knew what we were going to achieve was going to be limited by our resource. And also because of that, budgets as well. We don't have massive marketing budgets. So it was always going to be about how can we create meaningful change with very limited time, very limited resource. To have as much impact as we could. So just to run through our objectives. So our main focus was around engaging young women in the political process, getting young women to register to vote. And then our secondary objectives link back to that overarching business goal of digital mobilisation moments. So we were really focused on attracting young women 18 to 30 to join us as email subscribers and then re-engage our and activate our database of current supporters by giving them meaningful ways to get involved. We hadn't run a campaign for a few years, so we really wanted to give them, our current warm database, a chance to get involved with our work. So our audience, we had around 19,000 email subscribers made up of young women 18 to 30, but also allies who fit outside of that demographic. And then our audience who we were trying to attract to join us, young women 18 to 30 interested in women's rights and politics. So other than time and resource, we were also, I guess, limited on trying to cut through in quite a busy general election campaign space. So I'm sure lots of other charities and you guys were running campaigns in the run up to the general election. It was definitely a very crowded space. So how were we going to cut through with small budgets, not much resource, and also relatively low brand awareness? And then our second kind of limitation was actually how we reach our target audience. So we'd previously run a digital mobilisation pilot, and we'd have found it really hard and expensive to recruit young women in that 18 to 30 demographic. So how are we going to manage to do that this time with the lack of resource? So what did we do? Akshay is going to run through our tactics.
Try to do my best. So I think one of the first things to think about, because I'm going to show a few slides which might be confusing, boring stuff, but I think one thing to remember is that our primary audience was very clear. We had the young women from age of 18 to 30 that we wanted to engage with, but we also had a known secondary audience, which is everybody else who comes across the page, our existing list, people who don't fall into that category. So keeping that in mind, we first tried to focus on what do we want to work with, what do we want to do with the young women, and came up with a very initial, customary kind of journey. The idea here was we knew we had 5 weeks, time was not on our side, so we had to be agile, and we quickly just forecasted one first action and a bunch of other actions, and then said we'll just develop it as we go. So the idea was have an idea that you want people to come on the first action and then maybe take a few more. But what those few more actions would be, apart from register to vote, the most obvious one, we didn't know at that time, but we just set things up and started working on it. We also had a customary email journey, which every plan should have. The idea here, I think for us, the focus was to identify the audience from the beginning, the primary audience and the secondary audience, and know what the journey for them would be, what asks we would have, and how often we would want to contact them. This is not exactly the journey we eventually followed, but it gave us a structure to start with, kind of like a minimum viable product. So once those plans were in place, we started the dev. The first action we decided to work on was sign the manifesto. It was the first ask to enter the general election campaign. We were not trying to get a petition. We literally just wanted to get people to start a journey, and we knew that the audience that was coming through TikTok ads and the existing email audience, we knew that our aim was to bring them into the organization, not into a petition, not like a one-off action, but something to start a journey for. And there's a lot of content on that page, but I didn't stick everything on there. But once they go through the 5 elements of the manifesto that the organization had set out in collaboration with a young women's working group, once they go through that, they would sign up, and we had some additional features to kind of stand apart from the petition. There's a direct question there if they identify as being a young woman or a non-binary person of that age group. So it was right from the beginning. Just ask the questions, know who we're talking to, and be able to segment them. On the page itself, based on the answer to the young women or non-binary person, based on that yes or no answer, there was customized page journey as well to make sure that we're getting people to engage with the side of the campaign we want them to engage with. So yeah, that was the first task. I think following from there, we had 4 more weeks once we sent the first email, and obviously the ads were running, and we wanted a way to be able to send people to more actions, more meaningful qualitative actions. But at the same time, there would be a confusing journey of people who are just joining in. Where do they land? When do they receive the survey? When do they register to vote? So instead of trying to combine all of that into a email journey, we thought what was much more important was to have an action center. This action center was personalized based on cookies. So every week when we sent an email, the audience will come there. They'll see the action that we are now promoting to the left side, and then all the other actions would still be there that they could take. And because of the cookies, we also had a checkbox on if they've already taken the action, if the action had expired, because I think at some point the registration to vote stops. So we also had a lot of those features in, so people know that the action is expired, it was there, or the actions they haven't done, or the ones they've done. So even though we were emailing people for an action that week, there was a bunch of actions that they could still do if they were just new to the journey, and if they've been there before, they can see the status of those actions. And then those actions were then linking out to other tools and pages. Examples, some of them on the screen is the main one was asking people to register to vote. Once that expired, we also had right to candidates, which you can see, and also RSVP to community calls. So they were quite like specific qualitative actions that we wanted people to take, and we just had one action center to control it all. So yeah, just a summary of what we did. Short window, hence phased output, not getting too much into planning in the beginning, knowing that if we focused on a quality and a way of delivery, as actions develop, we can add them in. Meaningful and relevant, but easy first engagement. I didn't want to throw people off coming to expensive ads. As Zoe was saying, it's hard to target that audience specifically. So wanted something easy, but also something that brings them onto the organization. Modified page journeys for different audiences based on the answers. People had a different journey as they went through the pages and emails. And then finally, an action center with weekly asks for the 4 weeks. And yeah, I think it did really well, but I'll pass it on to Haley on that.
Hello. So as Akshay and Zoe have both mentioned, we work with young women that we represent. So we have a group of campaigners aged 18 to 30 who are lived experience users. And they basically told us what elements of the general election campaign felt confusing for them, where they felt shut out of it, where they didn't feel a part of politics, and we sort of got that from them and used it to create digital content. So they informed our content by featuring in it, giving us ideas. These are all like sort of screenshots, but if you go back, there's like many, many videos that they featured in. And it was essentially sort of created by and for young women. And we think that that is why it was really successful and impactful, because a lot of what we heard directly from this group was they don't feel like they're a part of politics. They don't feel like people create general election content for them. And the sort of impact from that was one of the things they really wanted to do was bring other young women into this. So they did an online campaign call. We've never done anything like this before. We've talked already a little bit about how this was a really time sensitive and quite a lot of us weren't expecting this. But also I was 2 weeks into this job at the time as well. So I was like getting to know these young women like extremely quickly and like, right, what do you want to do? What are we going to do? We're going to do something. You want more young women involved? Like, cool. How do you want to do that? So in all honesty, we were all quite nervous. We had no idea, is anyone actually going to come to this campaign call? Like, we've never done something like this, but we got a lot of young women come. They were engaged and stayed on the call for the whole call. We had no drop-offs. Things like taking cameras off, speaking, being involved. So it was like really nice to see. But I took a total step back. Like, I helped the young women sort of with the content of that call, but they did it, they led it, they didn't need me to step in. So it was like a really nice journey for them. But essentially it was sort of like telling them how a general election works. So a lot of what we heard from young women is they just don't understand it. They don't really know what a general election is. They know they've got a vote, but they don't know how to use it. So it was basically a like, this is your vote, which can be your voice, and this is how you can use it. So the campaign call was like a really big success, and it really helped us to signpost young women to our digital tools as well. We received loads of like great feedback, so participants did feel more engaged. They felt like it was more for them. They were going to go and vote if they had felt unsure before. Obviously, as we all know, we're not there to tell them who to vote for or how to vote, but we are there to explain to them that they have a right to vote and how they can use that and how to do it. And we tried to really go above and beyond and think about things. So there were a couple of like young women who were students in this campaigner group we worked with that were like, well, where do I vote? Do I vote at uni? Do I vote at home? And like all of those things helped us to be like, oh, okay, this is a thing that we need to make sure other young women know about and understand where they do that, because they're going to have the same questions. So yeah, by the end of this, the real impact was that young women who felt disconnected at the start, by the end felt engaged, they felt ready to vote, they felt like a part of this, and they felt like they've been brought into a conversation that so often they don't see themselves represented in. So it just sort of shows the impact of bringing in like a group of lived experience people who can say, actually, these are all the things, help us help other young women. And then in terms of digital mobilisation impact, the more sort of number stuff. So we were really successful at reaching young women at a cost-effective scale, which could be due to like the urgency and the hook of a political campaign. But I do think that also what we just spoke about on the last few slides had a big impact, seeing other young women talking about general election that you don't see that often. We also had like a really good email journey. So our top performing email was about writing to local candidates and also explaining to young women what local candidates are and what that means. So voting wise, 2.3% of those who signed the manifesto registered to vote. We mobilised cold young women, so we grew our mailing list by 2.2%. Social media growth, so Instagram growth by 3% and TikTok by 4%. We had 1,600, just over 1,600 actions were taken and 8,500 visits to our action centre. Just under half of those who opted in were young women, which was like a real good thing for us. We really wanted to make sure it was those that we were pulling in on this journey. And that's up from 44% from our previous mobilisation campaign. So that was really great. And yeah, activating warm supporters. So email click-through rate was on target, and we had 1 million impressions on our social content. And we reached 23% of total constituencies and 887 candidates, which we were really pleased with, being a tiny organisation with very limited capacity and very limited amount of time to plan. So overall, it felt like a really big success for us to involve them. Is this you?
So, what did we learn? So, as Hayley was saying, we co-created a lot of social content, and the experiences of our young women campaigners helped inform our content as well, which meant that our social content across organic and paid cut through in like a really busy, crowded campaign space, and helped resonate with young women and then drive them to our action centre to get involved. So, as Akshay was saying, like planning journeys was a really important part of this campaign. So it helped us build a relationship with supporters who had varying warmth to us as an organisation, through giving them really accessible ways to get involved, like watch a campaign video, share it, and then like more high bar asks, like writing to their prospective candidates as well. So that really helped us build our relationship with our audience throughout the campaign. And then I think being impact driven and having like a really clear focus for the campaign really helped us. I think when we didn't have a lot of time, we just had to stay really focused on that primary objective of getting young women involved in the political process. And then we planned our milestones for engagement around that. I think so often in charities we try and spread ourselves too thin and try and achieve so much from one campaign, but I think the limited time and resource actually helped us stay really focused on what we could achieve and what was realistic. We're going to do a Q&A in a sec, but first...
I wouldn't be very good at my job if I didn't take an opportunity for everyone in the room to have a look at our live digital action. So if you can all take out your phones and scan the QR code. So to give context, at the minute we have an open letter to the Chancellor calling on her to use the June spending review to invest in enforcement of the Fair Work Agency, which anyone working on employment rights bill at the moment will have heard that over and over again. It's essentially going to be the new enforcement body that works with the EHRC. Some of you might work for organisations that have already signed our letter. If you have, thank you so much. But yeah, so this is just an example of where we're at the moment. This is a live action we have, so you can kind of see, you can follow the journey yourselves. And I think there's probably close to 100 of you in here, so it would really help our numbers too. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. I think we've got about 5 minutes for questions. Okay. So, and also just to add, we've got our wellness and action station outside of the media in the lobby. So I believe your the QR codes are on there as well. So, yeah, please have a look at that. Okay, so obviously we've got the Hoover app. Ask your questions through there, please, if you can, but we'll also take them in the room. How are you planning to use the learnings for future digital mobilisation campaigns that are outside of big external moments like the general election? That's a big question.
I think working with young women, so we're launching a new campaign starting in June, and we've already recruited a group of young women campaigners to work with us, and like give us feedback on the strategy, and we'll be working with them on like the content creation process as well. So I think that's the way we will reach more young women, is creating content that's going to resonate with our target audience, and young women see themselves represented in. So definitely that's like a big one for me.
With the 18 to 30 audience, did they engage email journeys after joining your campaign writing, Tom?
I think the only thing I remember is it was the same engagement rate on emails otherwise before that. So yeah, I guess the answer is average, as the rest of the list was engaging. Yeah.
We've got one final. Oh no, we've got 2 more questions. They're coming through thick and fast now. Apologies. Are there further next steps planned in the journey for people subscribers? Followed on quite nicely.
I guess we've been trying to like build a longer term email supporter journey from that point. So we've worked with Akshay and C6 on like setting up more automated journeys. Remember, we were very new to engaging networks at the time. So we've tried to concentrate on giving anyone who joins our organisation a like welcome journey, depending on where they're accessing us, if they're coming through our services or campaign actions.
I think we've got time just for one more question. Here we go. So, I think we'll like this one. 8.5k views is amazing. How did you get such a high level of views? Did you direct multiple times from ads directly?
So can you repeat that?
Talking about the number of views.
Views on the action center. Ah, okay. It's like views to what?
I thought you meant one video. I was like,
No, I mean, I guess it was like, are you asking what channels we used? Sorry.
oh, it's like this guy.
Sorry, try again. How did you get such high levels of views?
I think the guy who asked it so
Yeah.
explain more. So. Thank you.
Basically, what I'm asking is, we've done similar actions, we did similar actions, we got raised, but the level of views seemed really, really high. And was that because you were directing there directly from ads, or was it more that so you directed the action centre straight from ads, and then they could sign up sort of through that?
Yes. So we did, we had like a paid and organic approach. So we were driving people from ads directly to the action centre. That's
And
okay.
just to add up, we also asked people who were already on the list to share the action center at certain points when like register to vote, push, or email the candidates. We didn't necessarily think that the only way in was manifestos. So yeah, I think that also increased people sharing with their friends.
Lovely. Well, I think that's all the time we've got for questions. So thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.